Afternoon, folks. It's John Pettipas recording on Wednesday afternoon, day after recording my first video on the Honourable Lloyd HINES. And I was in a state of shock when I made a video. It takes a lot to shock me, but that one had me surprised. They take wonderful man gone to heaven. Today's video is Honourable Lloyd P. HINES. I call him Lloyd Paul HINES. He's actually Lloyd Patrick HINES. I didn't realize that reads an obituary, a very well read obituary at Dennis Haverstock Funeral Homes, and if you haven't read it, read it. The wake is tomorrow at the Bars Manor in Guysborough from 4 to 6, and the funeral's at St. Anne's Catholic Church in Guysborough at 1 o'clock on Friday, and then there's a reception starting at 3, and the private family burial will be after. Receptions at the Lifestyle Centre of Guysborough, by the way, so that'll be private for the family after the reception, 4:30, 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon. The wake tomorrow, 4 to 6 tomorrow afternoon at the Bars Manor in the beautiful community of Guysborough. And I'm deliberately wearing green because, as I mentioned before, Lloyd is a Cape Bretoner. I spoke to a Burton gentleman. I was in communication with him about a day ago now, and he was a personal friend of Lloyd and knew him from the time he was a boy. So he was what you call a first-generation Mainlander. And as I say, damn proud of it. His grandmother, Lloyd, told me, God, he was a good guy to speak to. We always learned something speaking to Lloyd. He, very well written obituary. You want to read an obituary. He said, great lover reading. You learn by speaking to people. You learn by reading life. Doesn't matter who you are. You learn by speaking to people. You can learn something from everybody. And reading. So he could speak to anybody, and he was a well-read gentleman. So today's video again is the Honourable Lloyd P. HINES, a life devoted to taking a chance. A life devoted to taking a chance. Another gentleman, Honourable Bill Gillis, had a favourite expression of his. For a guy that wasn't preachy, but a favourite expression, cliche, whatever you want to call it, his was, you won't win second base by standing in first. Take a chance. Don't overanalyze. I'm going to repeat that. Honourable Bill Gillis, the saintly Honourable Bill Gillis, served 28 years, people's statesman for all Nova Scotia, MLA for Antigonish County and Town, but statesman for the whole province. He said, you won't win second base by standing in first. Take a chance. Don't overanalyze. And life's like that. So you take in Honourable Lloyd P. HINES, a life devoted to taking a chance. I mentioned yesterday wasn't the day to do this, but I'm doing it today. Everything that's gone, so many things that have gone well in economic development, and the wonderful, what's it, MOD, municipality, MODG, Municipality District of Guysborough, MODG. It all goes back to Sable Gas. And he was reading the Halifax Herald business pages. He bought a store on Main Street, Guysborough, Shabukta Street, Guysborough, and the store was called a Wonder Store, it's a convenience store. And after the fishing downturn in 1991 and Canada Seafoods closed, National Sea Products, that was devastating to so many communities, and it affected us all. Downturn in the fisheries, they couldn't fish cod commercially. And anyway, in between customers, he's reading the Halifax Herald in business pages, in a little article in the center of the page, a little small article, one column wide by whatever. And it was about two companies, Shell, being Shell Oil, and Exxon, were developing gas off of Nova Scotia and looking to have an onshore gas processing plant. And he started pursuing that, just like a bulldog. Just started pursuing it. Leonard O'Neill's widow, Eva, told me one time that Leonard was like a bulldog. Once a meek and mild guy, but once he got his teeth in something, it was like a dog with a bone in his mouth. He's not going to let it go. And that's Leonard O'Neill pursued Stora Kopparberg, became Nova Scotia Pulp, Nova Scotia Forest Industries. Still operates under Ron Stern Esquire and Company as Port Hawkesbury Paper. Without them, we'd have Schitt's Creek without a paddle. Anyway, back to Honourable Lloyd. So he's reading this article, and he pursues it. And he was berated by many people. What is spending so much time in this for, Lloyd? You're wasting your time. Halifax gets everything. He said, no, Halifax isn't going to get it. He said, okay. I said back to him, maybe you're right. Okay, I don't mean this derogatory. He said, Cape Breton gets everything. No, he said, Cape Breton's not going to get it. We're going to get it. I think originally it was going to go to Canso, but Rock got a way to get the line in. He worked with some of the fishermen. There was a Grover gentleman for sure was one. There was a second one whose name I can't remember right now. And they showed us a trench coming in from Sable, and it was a godsend. That's why Guysborough, District Guysborough has the lowest property tax rates in all of Atlantic Canada, not just Nova Scotia. Lower any place in Newfoundland, PEI, New Brunswick, or Nova Scotia for lowest residential property tax rates. A little bit more in commercial, because of course that brings money in. It's the thing that laid the golden eggs. And from that they pursued, under John Savage government, they started these second generation landfills. They pursued the landfill. And that's been a wonderful project. That project sold for a very healthy price back last winter, early spring. The deal closed. They spent money, some $100,000, at least $200,000 I think back then, to prove the amount of rock at Black Point for Black Point Marine Quarry, Vulcan Materials Company. There'll be more on that news in coming times. The Scotia windmills down at Canso, beautiful community of Canso, that windmill farm's been very successful. And there's other projects. So it all goes back and I'm going to wrap this up, Honorable Lloyd P. HINES, a life devoted to taking a chance. And Patricia married Lloyd. It's like that love song, Take a Chance on Me. Well, Lloyd married very well when he married Patricia Sullivan. And I'll say Patricia Sullivan married very well when she married Lloyd. And I said to him number of times, you have a wonderful wife, Patricia. And he'd respond right back, I couldn't do it without her. I'm going to repeat that. He just very affirmatively enthusiastic will say, I could never do it without her. She was just so supportive and just a wonderful lady, and I applaud Patricia. I said to Patricia one day on the phone, and this is my words, I said, your husband works very hard, and she's a very modest lady. And she said back to me, as much as Lloyd said with such gusto and enthusiasm that I could never do it without her, he meant without his lovely wife Patricia, she said to me, John, nobody knows how hard Lloyd works. And I ended my video the other day with people have work now, and there's going to be people have work. Hundreds of people have worked. There's a projects he worked on at AM Sandy Cameron. We never gave up our hope on that one. Wonderful. We listed Melford Terminals. Melford Terminals at Melford, down the shore. Beautiful community of Melford between Sandpoint and Mulgrave, town of Mulgrave. And there's other stuff. And once we get rid of this friggin' Justin Trudeau, I'm not so certain that with the energy situation world, we won't see an LNG plant yet, once we have Prime Minister Pierre Palladou. With that, I got to go. I wish you all the best. God bless. And I thank both Patricia and Lloyd for their outstanding service to the people of Guysborough County and Nova Scotia. And I applaud you both Patricia and Lloyd. Okay? And their family. And I got their daughter's name today. It's Sarah, Shannon, Victoria, 3 amigos, 3 wonderful daughters. I'll repeat that because I didn't have her name the other day. It's Sarah, Shannon, and Victoria. And Victoria is named after Victoria County in Cape Breton Island. She got a good name. I first met Victoria on Thanksgiving weekend 2013, just after Lloyd had won election the first time in the legislature, and he was coming back from visiting his elderly aunt, who was in fine form down in Neils Harbor. And at the time she was 100, and she died a few years later. I think she was 102 or 103 years old. So they're a long life family. It's unfortunate Lloyd didn't. And one more thing I want to say with Lloyd. Lloyd's grandmother. Lloyd learned so much from his mother and his grandmother. And his father died a little bit younger. They're all fine people. Actually, I spoke to somebody this morning, knew Lloyd's father. Honorable Kenny McCaskill has spoken glowing terms of Lloyd's father. Kenny McCaskill being MLA Victoria County. Two wonderful MLAs that came out of Victoria County. Honorable Kenny and Honorable Lloyd P. HINES in the mainland riding. The great riding guys for Trackery. And he was picking berries. And his grandmother said, stick to your bush. Focus on something. I think they must have been picking, what were they picking off a bush? Probably blueberries. Stick to your bush, the grandmother taught him. So that lifelong devotion of taking a chance and focusing on something till he got it. Thank you. Bye for now.